The ninth house, or Dharma Bhava, philosophy, purpose, truth, Taurus Rising, Part 1. The stability that must embrace expansion. Taurus Rising enters life with a grounded rhythm, devoted to the tangible, the sensual, and the enduring. Governed by Venus, this ascendant values consistency, beauty, and comfort. These natives build their world from the soil of reality: food, finances, relationships, traditions. But the ninth house, Dharma Bhava, pulls them into Capricorn, a sign ruled by Saturn, that is equally grounded but far more demanding. This is no longer about personal security. It's about long-term integrity, structured belief, and dharmic responsibility. Capricorn in the ninth house invites the Venus-ruled Taurus into a higher form of embodiment, one that requires patience, perseverance, and principled living. It is the journey from pleasure to purpose, from inherited values to earned wisdom. Where Taurus seeks the known, Capricorn insists on maturity. Where Taurus clings to peace, Capricorn forges meaning through struggle. Capricorn in the ninth, the weight of Dharma. Capricorn here gives the ninth house a serious tone. The pursuit of truth is methodical, tradition-bound, and deeply karmic. For Taurus Rising, this suggests a slow awakening of philosophical or spiritual purpose, often through responsibilities, hardships, or ancestral pressure. They may feel they must earn their right to believe. They are not drawn to speculative ideologies or mystical visions. They want proof, order, and real-world relevance. This placement draws them towards structured systems: law, policy, traditional education, institutional religion, or disciplines like history, strategy, and governance. Their dharma is not to float above the world, but to shape it through commitment, wisdom, and practical ideals. And yet, these ideals are not static. With time, they are meant to evolve. This is the path of becoming a pillar, through time, testing, and slow refinement. Saturn as Lord, purpose through discipline and delay. Saturn, ruling this house, means that Dharma unfolds for Taurus rising with gravity and delay. If Saturn is strong, the native becomes a figure of authority in philosophical, legal, or educational domains, known for sober judgment, ethical clarity, and karmic endurance. They don't preach, they embody. If Saturn is afflicted, it may bring rigidity in beliefs, moral doubt, or a fear of the unknown disguised as conservatism. Dogma replaces Dharma. Guilt replaces guidance. Their spiritual evolution begins when they stop mistaking comfort for truth and start embracing the idea that real growth is earned, not gifted. Saturn does not deny them wisdom. It demands they mature into it, from preservation to principle. The ninth house causing out of the garden of ease and into the mountain of principle. While they may resist upheaval or philosophical change, life will confront them with moments that test their values. They will be forced to reconcile tradition with truth, comfort with calling. They may be drawn to teachers who are elders, professionals, or even adversaries, those who challenge them to grow up spiritually. Their belief systems are not impulsive. They are layered, cautious, and deeply tested. But once they believe, they hold that belief with unwavering loyalty. What they seek is not enlightenment in the abstract, but wisdom that can be lived. Activation years and turning points. The ninth house activates for Taurus rising at ages 9, 21, 33, 45, 57, 69, and 81. These years often bring profound confrontations with ideological or ethical challenges. At 21 or 33, they may face moral crossroads, the loss of a mentor, a crisis of belief, or entry into structured fields like law, education, or government. At 45 or 57, they may become the mentor themselves, grounded guides who pass on tested knowledge. These turning points often involve inherited legacies, cultural values, or systemic structures that they must either uphold with integrity or reform from within. It is through such moments that Dharma ceases to be abstract and becomes destiny. From earth to ethos. Ultimately, the ninth house teaches Taurus rising that security is not found in what you own, but in what you believe. That structure is not just external, it is internal. And that wisdom isn't about ease, it's about endurance. Capricorn here refines Venusian attachment into Saturnian accountability. This is the house where the sensualist becomes the sage, where tradition is no longer passively preserved, but consciously chosen, where the native realizes the most beautiful life is the one aligned with principle. The truest luxury is to live in truth. The ninth house, or Dharma Bhava, philosophy, purpose, truth, Taurus Rising, Part 2. 8 most defining conjunctions in Capricorn, where steadfastness must confront higher law. For Taurus rising, the 9th house sits in Capricorn, a sign of structure, discipline, and long-term karma. Governed by Saturn, this house becomes a slow-burning forge of belief. The Taurus native seeks comfort, stability, and harmony, but the 9th house in Capricorn doesn't allow spiritual laziness. It pushes them to build meaning, not borrow it. These 8 conjunctions in Capricorn mark formative milestones, each one demanding that faith be grounded in integrity and vision earned through labor. This is where Venus must learn to serve Saturn, where the pursuit of pleasure gives way to the architecture of purpose. Sun and Saturn, authority with conscience or ego, under karma. This conjunction crystallizes ambition and responsibility. For Taurus rising, it may create an intense inner need to become respected for their beliefs or ideas. If benefic, it produces moral leaders, educators, or legal minds with strong integrity and a sense of duty to truth. If afflicted, it may trap the native in guilt, external approval seeking, or rigid orthodoxy. Growth comes when they realize true authority comes from living one's values, not from societal validation. Sun and Mercury, strategic clarity or self-justifying logic. This sharp alliance of ego and intellect fosters structured thinking and articulation of belief. For Taurus rising, it gives potential for clear moral communication and writing on law, governance, or education. If benefic, it yields ethical clarity and persuasive expression. If afflicted, it may rationalize rigidity or turn spiritual inquiry into intellectual posturing. Evolution begins when they use their voice to illuminate, not dominate, the path. Saturn and Mercury, mental discipline or inherited dogma. This conjunction brings seriousness to thought and restraint to speech. For Taurus rising, it can manifest as a mind trained in tradition, policy, or logic, but sometimes burdened by ancestral or cultural rigidity. If benefic, it produces wise interpreters of law, scripture, or systems. If afflicted, it causes pessimism, fear of deviation, or suppression of inner inquiry. Transformation lies in giving themselves permission to question, even the truths they were taught to revere. Jupiter and Saturn, ethical framework or moral delay. This weighty pairing tests idealism against realism. For Taurus rising, it creates deep tension between hope and duty, between freedom and fate. If benefic, it bestows balanced wisdom, the ability to serve both the spirit and the system. If afflicted, it may create moral fatigue, inertia, or blind obedience to authority. Purpose matures when they realize law and ethics must evolve together, not oppose each other. Jupiter and Venus, harmonized principles or comfort-based beliefs. This graceful union brings aesthetic and spiritual cohesion. For Taurus rising, it can bless them with the ability to build peaceful, beautiful belief systems, often drawn from culture, tradition, or moral philosophy. If benefic, it produces devotional teachers, artists with a cause, or ethical nurturers. If afflicted, it may indulge in luxurious dogma or resist spiritual rigor. Growth occurs when beauty supports truth, not replaces it. Mars and Saturn, disciplined will or frustrated faith. This iron-heavy conjunction tests endurance and intention. For Taurus rising, it pushes them to act on principle despite delay, resistance, or sacrifice. If benefic, it yields immense spiritual stamina, those who quietly build temples, systems, or legacies of Dharma. If afflicted, it may create spiritual anger, blocked goals, or inner rebellion against restriction. Evolution begins when they stop resisting structure and use it as a vessel for sacred action. Mars and Jupiter, action with principle or zeal with consequence. This fiery pair unites ambition with belief. For Taurus rising, it urges them to take initiatives based on justice, law, or higher vision. If benefic, it produces brave defenders of truth, those who move slowly but strike with conviction. If afflicted, it may express as fundamentalism, dogmatic activism, or ethical shortcuts for long-term gain. Maturity comes when they learn that force without wisdom corrupts, but wisdom without force decays. Venus and Saturn, devotion with duty or love in chains. This conjunction marries beauty with responsibility. For Taurus rising, it pulls their native Venusian love for comfort into the world of earned respect and karmic commitment. If benefic, it supports lifelong partnerships, dignified spiritual aesthetics, or the ability to build temples of truth, literal or metaphorical. If afflicted, it may suppress joy in favor of obligation, or make beliefs feel like burdens. Transformation arises when they learn that Dharma is not punishment, but precision and purpose. In summary, Capricorn in the ninth house forces Taurus rising to earn their truth. These conjunctions are not spiritual shortcuts. They are trials of patience, character, and higher discipline. Faith is not an escape, it is a structure. Belief is not borrowed, it is built. Here, Taurus rising matures into an architect of Dharma. They become those who can teach tradition without rigidity, hold power without arrogance, and walk the path of principle without forsaking grace. The purpose they seek does not come quickly, but once found, it becomes unshakable. This is not the journey of indulgence. It is the pilgrimage of integrity. The ninth house, or Dharma Bhava, philosophy, purpose, truth, Virgo rising, part 1. The precision that must embrace belief. Virgo rising enters life with discernment, order, and a drive to improve. Ruled by Mercury, these natives often operate from a place of critical thinking, humility, and service. Their mind is sharp, their instincts analytical, and their attention to detail unmatched. Yet when it comes to belief, philosophy, and Dharma, the ninth house for Virgo rising opens into Taurus, ruled by Venus, a sign of sensuality, stability, and cultivated value. This is where the Virgoan urge to question must surrender to grounded trust, where intellectual refinement must meet spiritual receptivity, where meaning is not deconstructed, but rooted, experienced, and lived. Taurus in the ninth house invites the Virgo native to discover truth not through argument, but through embodiment. It doesn't ask for theories. It asks for steadiness. This is not the sign of abstraction, but of natural law, of spiritual cultivation through earth, body, and tradition. The journey of Dharma for Virgo rising becomes one of learning how to slow down, internalize, and trust wisdom that unfolds with patience. Taurus in the ninth, the Dharma of consistency and embodied values. Where Virgo operates by refining the parts, Taurus in the ninth asks them to settle into the whole. This placement draws the native toward philosophies that are practical, grounded, and slow to change. It leans toward time-honored traditions, those that emphasize peace, nature, ritual, and enduring values. Dharma is not about seeking constant new answers. It is about rooting deeply in what sustains the soul over time. The Virgo rising native may find their beliefs through rhythm and routine, through gardening, music, art, or practices that connect them to the natural world. Spirituality becomes something sensual and beautiful, less about abstract morality and more about inner worth, integrity, and resonance with beauty. Their growth comes when they trust not just what they can prove, but what they feel and value at a core level. Venus as Lord, from critique to cultivation. With Venus ruling this house, the Dharma path is guided by grace, receptivity, and refinement. If Venus is strong, Virgo rising becomes someone who integrates practical insight with aesthetic vision. Teachers, artists, or spiritual guides who build sustainable, beautiful practices. They may gravitate toward philosophies that honor pleasure, nature, and well-being, bringing softness to the sharp edges of their own perfectionism. If Venus is afflicted, however, the path of meaning can be muddled by insecurity about values, envy of others' stability, or dependency on external comforts for inner peace. They may over-romanticize belief or struggle with material attachment under the guise of spiritual tradition. True growth lies in understanding that real worth is grown, not earned, that truth is not always provable, but deeply knowable. From analysis to anchoring. The ninth house teaches Virgo rising that their faith must eventually leave the page, that there is wisdom in stillness, meaning in repetition, and serenity in values that do not demand constant reassessment. Where Virgo is quick to edit, Taurus asks them to build. Where Virgo questions, Taurus invites them to rest into trust. Teachers for this native may appear as calm, earthy guides, those who demonstrate belief through how they live, not what they say. Philosophical awakening comes slowly, but when it does, it becomes a foundation that holds steady even as everything else shifts. Activation years and turning points. The ninth house activates for Virgo rising at ages 9, 21, 33, 45, 57, 69, and 81. These are years where the pursuit of meaning may be shaped by beauty, stability, or loss and re-anchoring. At 21 or 33, they may enter a phase of devotion, perhaps through art, a spiritual lineage, or a meaningful romantic union that reframes their worldview. At 45 or 57, they may become mentors who teach others how to live simply, truthfully, and well. These turning points often require them to slow down, not to give up, but to truly internalize what matters, to let their values mature into Dharma. From complexity to core values. Ultimately, Taurus in the 9th house teaches Virgo rising that not all wisdom is analytical, that serenity is its own form of intelligence, that Dharma is not about perpetual improvement, but faithful cultivation. This is the journey where the critic becomes the connoisseur, where truth is no longer questioned to death, but nurtured into life, where Virgo rising, often tangled in thought, finds freedom in simplicity, beauty, and trust in what endures. The 9th house, or Dharma Bhava, Philosophy, Purpose, Truth, Virgo Rising Part 2. 8 most defining conjunctions in Taurus, where the mind must slow down and purpose is grown, not rushed. For Virgo Rising, the 9th house sits in Taurus, where Dharma is cultivated through stability, sensuality, and value. Unlike the airy, analytical nature of Mercury, Venus-ruled Taurus invites the Virgo native to anchor their beliefs in lived experience. Here, the search for truth isn't fueled by urgency. It's grown slowly through reverence for the body, the earth, and the enduring. These 8 conjunctions in Taurus activate phases of deep grounding, each one guiding the Virgo rising away from mental overanalysis and into the calm clarity of what truly lasts. Venus and Jupiter, abundant faith or comfortable dogma. This conjunction blends grace and wisdom. For Virgo rising, it may foster belief systems that prioritize harmony, aesthetics, and generosity. If benefic, it yields natural teachers of embodied wisdom, those who value beauty as a moral force. If afflicted, it may overindulge in comfort or equate luxury with truth. Dharma strengthens when they recognize that peace is not passivity. It is the result of inner alignment. Venus and Mercury. Grounded expression or intellectual hedonism. This refined pairing unites Virgo's ruler with the ruler of the 9th. For Virgo rising, it harmonizes intellect with pleasure, creating eloquent thinkers, devotional writers, or gentle philosophers. If benefic, it supports communication that soothes, teaches, and uplifts. If afflicted, it may result in clever rationalization of desires or attachment to beliefs that sound good but lack depth. The transformation begins when they speak from values, not around them. Venus and Rahu, attractive beliefs or sensual escapism. This magnetic conjunction intensifies the pull toward material or sensual beliefs. For Virgo rising, it may manifest as obsession with artistic, romantic, or luxurious expressions of faith. If benefic, it creates charismatic spiritual artists or influencers of values. If afflicted, it can lead to spiritual bypassing through indulgence or aesthetic vanity. Dharma matures when they realize beauty must be in service of truth, not a substitute for it. Venus and Ketu, detached devotion or beauty without belonging. This subtle pairing brings refinement and emotional withdrawal. For Virgo rising, it may produce early disinterest in conventional belief or a longing for something spiritually beautiful but ineffable. If benefic, it grants quiet faith, minimalist dharma, or devotional service without need for recognition. If afflicted, it can result in disconnection from guidance or spiritual isolation. Purpose deepens when they learn that stillness is not emptiness, but presence. Moon and Venus, emotional peace or sentimental belief. This soft, nurturing combination binds heart and values. For Virgo rising, it supports beliefs grounded in emotional resonance, faith that feels like home. If benefic, it produces devotional caretakers, spiritual nurturers, or artists whose work heals. If afflicted, it can lead to belief systems based on emotional dependency, nostalgia, or avoidance of discomfort. Dharma matures when they choose to feel deeply, but act from stillness. Sun and Venus, value-driven identity or vanity in belief. This radiant conjunction infuses self-worth into philosophy. For Virgo rising, it can lead to a graceful and expressive belief system, one that centers around personal values, creativity, and dignity. If benefic, it supports inspired spiritual leadership or dharma that integrates heart and aesthetics. If afflicted, it may express as ego-driven attachment to beauty, status, or moral superiority. Growth begins when they seek to embody what they believe, not project it. Mars and Venus, desire and devotion or conflict in values. This passionate pair brings vitality into belief. For Virgo rising, it can manifest as active devotion, building temples, creating art, or defending what they love. If benefic, it fuels pleasure with purpose and action rooted in value. If afflicted, it may produce moral friction, indulgence battles, or tension between desire and discipline. Purpose stabilizes when they bring their impulses into alignment with a life of grace and endurance. Saturn and Venus, sacred simplicity or heavy belief. This discipline conjunction grounds faith into practice. For Virgo rising, it can bring a long, slow evolution of values, where Dharma is shaped through responsibility, service, and practical beauty. If benefic, it produces steady spiritual workers, teachers of embodied ethics, or minimalist sages. If afflicted, it may repress joy, fear indulgence, or cling rigidly to outdated values. Dharma unfolds when they find peace not in control, but in devotion to what sustains life. In summary, Taurus in the 9th house asks Virgo rising to slow down the search for truth. These conjunctions initiate phases of spiritual rooting, where Dharma is not found through complexity but through continuity. It is not discovered through cleverness, but cultivated through care. Here, the detail-oriented Virgo rising learns that belief doesn't need to be dissected. It needs to be lived. That simplicity is not naivety, but elegance, and that truth, like soil, reveals itself to those patient enough to plant, nurture, and wait. This is the journey where the analyst becomes the artisan, where meaning is made through what one values and how one honors that value, one quiet, purposeful day at a time. The 9th house, or Dharma Bhava, Philosophy, Purpose, Truth, Capricorn Rising, Part 1. The discipline that must open to the vast unknown. Capricorn Rising approaches life with structure, endurance, and a keen sense of responsibility. Ruled by Saturn, these natives are grounded, pragmatic, and focused on building legacies that last. They don't leap, they climb, brick by brick. But the 9th house, Dharma Bhava, opens into Virgo, a Mercury-ruled sign that introduces analytical thinking, humility, and refined intelligence into the Capricorn native spiritual journey. Here, the architect must become the student. Where Capricorn seeks control, Virgo insists on continuous refinement. This is where worldly order meets the sacred logic of inquiry. Virgo in the 9th house brings a Dharma rooted not in dogma, but in discernment. Capricorn rising must learn that belief isn't just inherited tradition or social status. It is a craft, honed through intellectual humility, devotion to detail, and service to truth. They are being asked to deconstruct their certainty and embrace the ongoing work of philosophical precision. The mountain they're climbing now is not made of stone, it's made of understanding. Virgo in the 9th, the Dharma of thoughtful integrity. Virgo adds precision, humility, and a need for intellectual clarity to the 9th house. For Capricorn rising, this turns the pursuit of truth into a process of methodical study, ethical questioning, and critical refinement. They are drawn to systems of thought that can be tested, applied, and perfected, often finding their dharma in healing sciences, ethical analysis, or teaching roles that require deep service. Their beliefs are not likely to be mystical or grandiose. They are practical, functional, and often tied to tangible improvement. This is not the sign of idealistic faith, but a faith rooted in disciplined reasoning. Their path is about asking the right questions, organizing the chaos of moral complexity, and shaping a belief system that can be used, not merely admired. Mercury as Lord, from skepticism to sacred intellect. With Mercury ruling this house, Dharma becomes a process of learning, analyzing, and revising. If Mercury is strong, the Capricorn rising native becomes a wise, humble teacher, someone who communicates truth through lived knowledge. They become translators of meaning, reformers of ritual, and writers of modern ethical language. If Mercury is afflicted, however, they may struggle with overthinking, intellectual arrogance, or spiritual dryness, trapped in constant doubt or nitpicking philosophies that should be lived, not dissected. Their greatest growth comes when they understand that skepticism is not the opposite of spirituality. It's the beginning of authentic engagement. Dharma for them is not a doctrine. It is a practice of asking, refining, and applying. From control to conscious service. The 9th house teaches Capricorn rising that meaning isn't always found in tradition or status. It can emerge through service, inquiry, and quiet acts of moral clarity. Where they once sought structure and outer achievement, Virgo in the 9th teaches them to cultivate inner order, to live by a philosophy that is consistent, self-correcting, and devoted to betterment, not perfection. This placement calls them to become philosophers of precision, those who study not to escape the world, but to repair it. Their spiritual teachers are often practical mentors, those who show that truth is not lofty, but rooted in detail, ritual, and daily discipline. Activation years and turning points. The ninth house activates for Capricorn rising at ages 9, 21, 33, 45, 57, 69, and 81. These years may bring intellectual initiations, educational turning points, or spiritual awakenings through critique, correction, or a deepening desire to get it right. At 21 or 33, they may adopt or discard belief systems that no longer meet their ethical standard. At 45 or 57, they may emerge as guides, those who instruct not through drama, but through lived mastery of nuance. Each turning point refines their purpose, not through drama, but through devotion to detail. Belief, for them, becomes a lifelong edit, never finished, always improving. From rigidity to refinement. Ultimately, Virgo in the ninth house teaches Capricorn rising that truth does not shout, it edits. That belief is not a system of control, but a lifelong correction of understanding. That spiritual strength is not about stature, but subtlety. This is where the builder becomes the scholar, where the CEO of the outer world meets the sacred scribe of the inner one, and where Capricorn rising discovers that the deepest purpose isn't in ascending to the top, it's in perfecting the path with humility, clarity, and service to what's true. The ninth house, or Dharma Bhava, philosophy, purpose, truth, Capricorn rising, part 2. 8 most defining conjunctions in Virgo, where precision shapes belief and purpose is refined, not assumed. For Capricorn rising, the ninth house opens in Virgo, a sign of thoughtful service, quiet mastery, and practical intelligence. Here, Dharma is not discovered through grand revelation, but earned through humility, observation, and daily refinement. The Capricorn native seeks structure and legacy, but Virgo in the ninth house challenges them to move from building external systems to refining internal ethics. These 8 conjunctions in Virgo mark phases of meticulous awakening, where belief is analyzed, edited, and applied with care. For them, truth is not declared, it is earned, one conscious choice at a time. Mercury and Sun, thoughtful authority or ego in argument. This combination unites clarity of mind with personal voice. For Capricorn rising, it often creates a strong drive to articulate their worldview with precision and logic. If benefic, it produces rational, ethical leaders who teach from lived integrity. If afflicted, it can skew into intellectual pride or narrow-minded critique disguised as truth. Dharma activates when they learn that real leadership includes the ability to revise, not just defend their beliefs. Mercury and Jupiter, humble wisdom or overanalysis of truth. This pairing expands Mercury's critical eye with Jupiter's philosophical breadth. For Capricorn rising, it supports a practical but generous worldview, with interests in ethics, justice, education, or healing systems. If benefic, it creates masterful teachers, analysts, or integrators of belief and application. If afflicted, it may result in endless questioning, overcomplication, or paralysis in choosing a belief path. Growth happens when they realize that refined knowledge must eventually be applied, not just considered. Mercury and Venus, harmonized intellect or pleasing morality. This elegant conjunction blends critical thought with relational grace. For Capricorn rising, it supports diplomatic communication of beliefs, tactful instruction, and the ability to soften rigid systems with aesthetic or emotional intelligence. If benefic, it fosters educators, critics, or spiritual artists with a gift for clarity and poise. If afflicted, it may cause avoidance of hard truths or reliance on socially acceptable philosophies that lack depth. Purpose evolves when they speak both kindly and precisely. Mercury and Saturn, disciplined mind or dogmatic skepticism. This serious conjunction joins the chart ruler with the house ruler, forming a powerful karmic link to Dharma. For Capricorn rising, it creates a slow but steady thinker, someone whose beliefs are formed through experience, hard study, and realism. If benefic, it produces philosophers, editors, or spiritual realists who refine the world through method and ethic. If afflicted, it can cause rigid worldviews, fearful logic, doubt, or intellectual pessimism. Their highest path emerges when they use discipline to serve truth, not suppress it. Sun and Saturn, ethical legacy or burdened belief. This authoritative pair shapes Dharma into duty. For Capricorn rising, it often leads to a strong sense of philosophical responsibility, either inherited or earned. If benefic, it creates moral stewards, principled reformers, or long-term guides. If afflicted, it may result in self-doubt, inherited guilt, or feeling obligated to a tradition that no longer fits. Growth happens when they give themselves permission to update their principles without losing their ethical core. Mercury and Mars, precision with purpose or critical combativeness. This sharp conjunction activates logical rigor and assertive thought. For Capricorn rising, it supports activism through words, healing through analysis, or belief systems grounded in clear action. If benefic, it creates efficient communicators or problem solvers in philosophical, scientific, or social domains. If afflicted, it may lead to nitpicking, verbal aggression, or cutting down others' beliefs in the name of being right. Dharma sharpens when they learn to cut away illusion, not people. Venus and Jupiter, ethical aesthetics or spiritual complacency. This expansive pair blends value with wisdom. For Capricorn rising, it can produce a soft devotion to beauty, order, and refined moral systems, often leading to belief in the healing power of art, justice, or harmony. If benefic, it fosters ethical educators, socially conscious designers, or healers who walk their talk. If afflicted, it may result in idealized belief systems that are beautiful but unexamined. Growth arrives when they choose principles that are useful, not just pleasant. Venus and Saturn, sacred restraint or belief as obligation. This grounding conjunction unites aesthetic grace with karmic responsibility. For Capricorn rising, it can bring devotion to classical traditions, disciplined rituals, or conservative belief frameworks. If benefic, it offers refined taste, ethical loyalty, and the ability to preserve sacred knowledge. If afflicted, it may produce guilt around pleasure, repression of spiritual desire, or staying in belief systems out of duty, not choice. Dharma opens when they learn that simplicity and joy can coexist with integrity. In summary, Virgo in the 9th house teaches Capricorn rising that Dharma is a practice, not a proclamation. These conjunctions mark periods where their belief systems must withstand examination, not to be destroyed, but to be strengthened. It is not about faith in the abstract, but in detail, effort, and refinement. This is the house where the builder becomes the scribe, where purpose is not shouted, but whispered in careful ethical alignment, and where Capricorn rising learns that the most enduring philosophies are those that are lived with precision, humility, and continuous improvement, one well-placed step at a time.